Welcome to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show, where we explore nighttime dreams, daytime desires, and the best ways to transform the tragic into magic. Because let's face it, we all dream, we all have our blessings, and we all have our challenges, myself included. And I don't want any of us to take any of those things lying down, if you know what I mean. I just wrote a book entitled A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste. I'm excited to explore the topic with you, whether it relates to your waking or sleeping dreams, because we're dreaming all the time, people. So let's make it the best dream possible. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the show today. This is going to be really thought-provoking and hopefully incredibly inspiring. And this will be one of those conversations that really brings dreams and all the magic of dreams down to earth in a pretty powerful way. So I was contacted by a wonderful friend and colleague named Drew. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Do you know how to? It's Pagoda. Starts with a P.
I think it starts with a P.
Yeah.
He's a
Drew. Great producer. He worked. I met him through George Norrie and Gaia, and he said, "I've got this great guy to connect you with." He won the lottery, and he dreamt about it ahead of time. And he interviews people about dreams and like manifesting through your dreams. And I'm like, are you friggin' kidding me? I'm writing a book right now. I'm literally just about to submit my book proposal for dreamifesting, which I talk about all the time on this show, how to let your dreams do the heavy lifting of your manifesting in your life. I thought, oh my God, I want to interview him. Yeah, I'll be on his show, but man, I want to get to know this guy. So I got to be on Timothy's show last week. I don't think it's aired yet, but I'm just so loving this guy. Okay, let me tell you about Timothy Schultz. If you're watching in real time, you'll see his handsome face with his Albert Einstein kind of cool little thing going on in the background. It's you can't tell. I saw it's Einstein back there, right?
It is. Yeah, the camera is kind of
you can only see part of it.
Tilted down, yes, but yes, it is Einstein.
I love that you have Einstein back there. I talk about him so much. I always feel so smart when I do. So let me just tell you a little bit about Timothy. He is a dynamic YouTuber, and he is the charismatic host behind the captivating podcast, Lottery, Dreams, and Fortune. He has a story that resonates with millions. And speaking of millions, in 1999, the year that Prince wrote that famous song about, he defied the odds by winning the Powerball jackpot in the United States at the age of 21, becoming one of the youngest lottery winners in history. Following this life-altering win, Schultz pursued his passion by returning to college to study broadcast news and immerse himself in film and media. And he now blends his firsthand experience with sudden wealth and experience in broadcast news to curate compelling interviews with fellow lottery winners, experts, and individuals, all about defying the odds and the enigmatic realm of luck. With an unwavering belief that anything is possible, Schultz's platform serves as a beacon of inspiration where the realms of intuition, mindset, manifestation, and destiny converge. So I am so excited to talk dreamifesting with Timothy Schultz. Welcome to the show today, Tim.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's just take us back. I mean, on your show, I love how you, on your YouTube show, you interview other people, but you also are very candid and transparent about your journey, which is really remarkable. And of course, I'm most excited about the fact that you dreamt about this ahead of time and you acted on it. But take us back to what it was like before you won, before you started having these dreams. So, and then tell us what happened.
Well, I was 21 years old and I was working at a gas station. I was an assistant manager working at a gas station 40 to 60 hours a week. So I was making a little over minimum wage. And I was at this point in my life where I was just trying to put myself through college, and I was selling lottery tickets, fairly often. But I had this particular evening, I was really feeling down on my luck in the sense that I was feeling depressed about my financial state and sort of hopeless. And I've never been religious per se, but I've always believed in being a part of something much greater than what we are. Well, seemingly in God or the universe, part of something larger. And I went to sleep in this meditative state of mind, seeking inspiration and help from the universe, seeking help, not necessarily to win the lottery, but just some hope, like an answer, a way out in this meditative state. And this sounds kind of crazy, but I had this feeling as if I went out of my body and then experienced having already won the lottery. It had already happened within this dream state. And it was just the first thing I thought of was, oh my gosh, now I get to pay off my vehicle. I get to pay off my debt. I get to pay off my, it's just, I was really relieved and just so on top of the world. And I just felt so unbelievably ecstatic about this. And then I woke up and it took a little bit to realize that it hadn't happened because it was that real. It really was very real. It felt very real. And so I woke up, I was on this air mattress in this efficiency, which is pretty much an apartment with it's all the same room, the kitchen and everything is in the same. So I wasn't homeless, but I wasn't wealthy by any means. And but the dream convinced me that I really believed that I was going to win after this dream. And some people think that's a coincidence, like a coincidence, but a lot of people think that it's not. And I've had several other dreams that were similar about other things, not the lottery, but other things that have come true. But prior to winning, after the dream, of course, I went back to work, and 3 or 4 months later, I actually won. But I had some other pretty crazy things happen, like right before it happened, including telling coworkers and friends and people that I was going going to win because I believed that I was going to win, and other people telling me that they thought I would. And then the particular night when I won the lottery, after I got off work and had this ticket, I played this card game with friends, and it was a color coded card game, like a guessing, a matching game with the colors. And I'm partially color blind, so I can't see certain shades of magenta. But so I just blindly guessed, but I won practically every hand. And I just felt that maybe that's irrelevant, maybe that's not connected, but I really felt like luck was on my side that night. And then it actually happened.
And then you actually had to move home. So you were no longer living in the efficiency. You had to kind of eat the humble pie and move into your parents' basement. So and then you were coming out of another very significant dream on the day of. Um tell us about that.
Yeah. So by the time the day that I won, a few weeks prior to that, I had moved back into my parents' house. I was living in their basement and working at this gas station. And the day that I won, well, it was the next morning because the drawing is in the evening, but the next
Mhm.
morning I was awoken by my father. Well, first of all, I had this very another vivid dream that signified the end of something. It
What
signified
was
the
Well, I'd love to hear what happened in that dream if you remember. I know it signified the end of something, but I'd love to hear what happened. But keep
well,
going with the story. We can circle back.
yeah. So it was the end. It was like the act of a play. how the play, like if you go to a play on stage, they
Uh-huh.
have the end of it. The curtains come down, and it was the end of it. Right at that moment that the play ended, it signified the end of this show. Right as that happened, the very same second, my father started banging on my bedroom door
In waking
and
reality.
in waking reality, and he said,
Uh-huh.
Tim, get up. Someone won the Powerball and you sold the winning ticket, because they knew that I sold the winning ticket. And so I woke up to this. And so it was as if a new chapter of my life had just started. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it actually happened this way. And
So
it,
you sold the winning ticket to yourself. So you bought it because you were working and you bought it from yourself, right? Okay.
yes, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so then you find out when do you find out how much it is and when does that happen? Right away?
Well,
Tell everybody. Everybody
th
wants to know how much you won. If you
yes.
if you
So this was 1999, and the internet existed, but it wasn't what it is today. And so my father, told me that I sold the winning ticket. He said, did you buy a ticket? You might have won the darn thing. And I thought to myself, in this groggy state of mind, yes, I did buy a ticket. Yes, I told everybody that I was going to win. I believed that I was going to win. I had this dream about it. I've been talking about this, and I believed that I was waving it around, telling people I was going to win. Maybe I won. Maybe I won. Maybe I actually won. And I started freaking out, just going crazy. I couldn't find the ticket anywhere. I was rummaging through papers, and I finally found it. It was crumpled up in a little ball. And I unraveled the ticket and brought it upstairs into the kitchen where they had the newspaper, because the internet wasn't, most people didn't check the internet for lottery numbers in 1999. So I looked at the numbers and compared it with the newspaper, and they matched. It was so surreal. It was so crazy. I really felt like I was living in a movie. Like it was just, I felt like a little kid in a candy store. I just started hugging my father, and we were jumping up and down. And the amount, it was a $28 million annuitized Powerball jackpot.
Ah, let's just have a pause. Everybody just soak that in. So this 21-year-old kid that's living in his parents' basement, struggling, 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 wins $28 million. Ah. So annuitized, meaning that it comes to you in pieces, in parts over time. Like, is that, yeah?
Well, with the lottery in the United States, with most games, when you see the Powerball or the Mega Millions or different jackpot amounts, the advertised amount, the sticker prize,
Yeah.
is known as the annuitized. So
Oh,
that's what it is. There's usually a cash option. You can usually take half right away, or you can take the annuity, which is all of it over around 30 years.
oh, wow.
So I'm just generalizing. Different
Mhm.
games are different, but that's how it is for a lot of them. So the prize that you see advertised, that's what it was, 28 million.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
Okay, so you on your show and on your you talk about all the many details about what to do when you win and all the different so there's so many things I want people to just go and watch that on your show. And just everybody subscribe because it's wonderful and inspiring. There's a few things I want to talk about on this show that relates more to dreams. So let's just dial back for a second for a few specific things. Were you before all of this, were you in the habit of paying attention to dreams? Were you would what you would call a dreamer, like a regular, was this a regular part of your life?
Absolutely. And that's why I believed in the dream so strongly. It's because I'd
Okay.
had other dreams, yeah, that had come true.
Okay, great. Because I always like to tell people that, your lottery winning dream might come tonight, but you have to kind of build the muscle, like the build it and they will come kind of thing. You
Mhm.
can't just wait to catch the winning lottery dream and have like no muscles for how to catch that. So you have to kind of prepare yourself to be somebody who does go out of their way for just a few minutes a day to remember a dream and write it down, acknowledge it, pay attention. So you were already doing that. Okay, now how often you worked at the
Mm.
gas station where they were selling lottery tickets? So you were sort of in a different position than most people who don't work in that kind of environment. But how often at that point did you buy lottery tickets, and did that go up after you had those dreams?
It definitely went up when I had those dreams as far as I would buy once or twice a week and usually just one ticket at a time
Okay.
because I didn't have very much money to spend on it. And I always
Mhm.
believed that it only takes one, as cliche as it sounds, it only takes one ticket to win. And I always
Yeah.
believed that.
Yeah. Okay, so one. And then what was also interesting is that you said that your winning ticket was just a randomly generated number. It wasn't, I mean, most people, I looked up all these statistics that I'll share soon, but
Mm.
most, well, I don't know, a big percentage of people have their anniversary dates, their children's first, whatever. They do some kind of a thing that's personal, but you happen to just kind of trust the fates. And so do you have any comment on whether people should do it that way or not? Or what do you know thus far in all these years since 1999? Do you think that's the best way to go, or should we have our favorite numbers?
Well, that's an excellent question. That's one of the most popular questions that people ask. And there are people that dream of specific numbers or they see specific numbers, have
Right,
synchronicities,
right.
and then they win on those numbers. And those stories are incredible. But for me, I did not dream of specific numbers. I had no belief that specific numbers would be any better than any others, but I felt that I would win. So I felt that if I just played, then that's all I had to do. And really, when it comes down to people winning the lottery in the United States and I think around the world, most people win on computer generated quick picks, but most people play computer generated quick picks as well. But people
Mm,
do win both ways. And I always advise people to play with what feels best to you because it should be fun. After all, it should be fun and play responsibly too, of course.
it should be a game. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want us to talk in a few minutes about what you discovered. This was so fascinating to me, the sudden wealth syndrome, SWS. I'd never heard of this, but it's literally been all over my head. I've been thinking about it so much. So I want us to talk about that in a second. But first, I'm just going to read a few statistics for people that are curious. Because let's see. So 70% of people who win think that they're going to play again. Let's see. Oh wait, no, I'm reading it from the middle. Okay, so how
Hmm.
many people actually win the lottery? 86% of people who have played the lottery have said that they have won something at least once. 7 out of 10 say that they've won $99 or less. Only 0.09% of respondents say that they have won over $10,000. So 0.09% of respondents. 70% of big lottery winners end up going broke. So this is an interesting thing about the sabotage. Some 44% of those winners spend their entire fortune in less than 5 years and end up filing for bankruptcy. Americans spend $105.26 billion on lottery tickets a year. This makes the lottery the most popular form of gambling in the United States today. 1 out of 4 players plays the lottery at least once a month. A further 1 out of 4 players buy 5 or more tickets when there's a bigger jackpot to win. And then, as I was saying before, almost 70% of people choose completely random numbers when playing with no specific strategy. But then the rest of them they have a lucky number, their birthday, family members' birthdays, anniversaries, and a small 4% of people say they would use their favorite athlete's jersey number as part of their lucky numbers. And 85% of big lottery winners prefer to stay anonymous. So getting all the data on big wins can sometimes be a challenge. Lottery statistics reveal that 89% of surveyed winners continue to play after they've won. And let's see. Um, so this is what they say. The 54% of lottery players say that the first thing they would do in if they won the lottery is 1 out of 10 people say they would quit their job immediately. Um, or some people say that they would quit within 6 months. 16% say they would quit after receiving their winnings. People think that when you win the lottery, it will cause issues with your close relationships. We're going to talk about that. But real lottery statistics actually say differently. 90% of lottery winners who had best friends before they won keep those relationships intact. And let's see, 55% of lottery winners are happier after winning the lottery. Okay, but let's not forget that what is it? The wow, that 70% of those of people also go broke. So there is a lot of what we could say sabotage. We're communal creatures. We are relational creatures as humans. So when one great thing happens, and I want everybody to who's watching or listening to listen to this from the perspective of relating, because I imagine we have all won the lottery in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the actual national lottery. You might have the love of your life. You might have great health. You might have, a great job. You might have great friends. You might have a great house. I mean, and maybe you've had a dream that led you to one of those things. So I don't want anybody to feel left out of this conversation. I think we all are lottery winners, even just by being alive. But there is something that happens when there is a sudden influx of great fortune that does kind of rattle the collective communal cage that we live in. So, Timothy, tell us about what that was like for you and how you came upon sudden wealth syndrome.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So, I had no idea what sudden wealth syndrome was prior to winning the lottery. A few months after I won, I saw someone being interviewed about it on media, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, that really resonates with what I'm going through." And then I looked it up and did some research, and I believe that's one of the things that happened to me. And it's a psychological term that has different some of the attributes to having sudden wealth syndrome. Some of the characteristics are that resonate with me anyway is really feeling like an instant outlier, feeling like when I won, I was 21 years old. I was a struggling college student, and my peers were not in that, they weren't even close to being in that state financially. So all of a sudden, I was an instant outlier. If I wanted to go on vacation or do anything to celebrate the win, I had to pay for other people. And that's just a microcosm of sudden wealth syndrome. But beyond that, I felt guilty even at times. This wasn't initially. This is after the euphoria of winning wears off a little bit. After you come down from the roller coaster a little bit, I felt just even partially guilty for having won because I couldn't help everybody that I cared about. I felt sorry for people that weren't, everybody else didn't win. I won. So, of course, I want to help all the people I love and care about. I want them to be in the same state, but I also wanted to be financially responsible and live within a means and listen to financial advisors. And I knew that I couldn't just, if I helped everyone I cared about, which I would love to, I mean, I would go broke rather quickly. And I realized that right after I won. And not that I didn't help people, I helped a lot of people. And I think that can be very positive, but I had to learn some hard lessons there about the line of being financially responsible and how to toe these social relationships with people. And I had some relationships, even, with relatives that were damaged and ruined where we were formerly pretty close. And that was pretty hurtful. And from their perspective, and I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but from most people were very supportive, but some people thought, they viewed it as this person just got this money for nothing. They just got lucky. it wasn't viewed as if you earned it. Like if you're a
Right.
CEO of a company or you
Right.
make millions of dollars through your profession, that's
Yeah.
treated with a little more respect with some people than a
Ooh.
21-year-old who wins the lottery and comes across sudden wealth. And so that's how I was treated by some people. Most people were supportive, but for some people, and that was a hard learning a lesson on how to deal with that.
Oh, were they, I imagine that they feel like they're entitled to some ongoing amount or some percentage or, oh, I mean, that is, there's somebody I know who's very, very, very wealthy and in their life, um, super generous. I mean, there was so many people living entirely off of this person's wealth, like not working. Like you said in one of your interviews, you can't retire all your friends and family at the same time. Like there isn't enough for, like, now you don't have to, all your debt is paid, all your cars are paid, your houses are paid, you never have to work again, this whole community. I mean, if you were Bill Gates and there was money that was coming in constantly, if this lottery winning number was going to happen every year, then maybe you could. And maybe, I mean, at some point you could, but when you know it's a semi limited amount, then you do have to project you're going to live a long life and you got to be smart about it because it's not going to help anybody. But anyway, this friend, um, there ended up being when people would ask for beyond that, because people, I mean, we human beings, it's part of it's what's beautiful about us is that we always want more, that we're not satisfied creatures. We, like, the moment we have one thing, we're like, oh, hallelujah, I'm so relieved. I don't have to make house payments anymore, or I'm out of debt, or oh my God. And then we're like, oh, but the grass is greener over there. I really need that new car. I really need that. We always want more. And that's good because it keeps us on the treadmill of learning and growing. But when we expect somebody else to make that happen for us, and if you don't, that makes you a bad guy. Then it's like you went from being a hero and an angel, I imagine, to being a bad guy. Like that saying, no good deed goes unpunished. I imagine that must have been true. So say more about that. Like how, I mean, as a young person, like what did that do? Like in the darkest moments, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was extremely painful. I mean, it was. It just was. It was one of the most painful things I've ever had to deal with. And of course, there's so many positive things that come from winning the lottery, but that was at the time a very painful thing to have these people that, you know, family that I formerly was felt very close to all of a sudden view me that way. And then, of course, my perception of them changed too. And it was like maybe, we're seeing the true colors of this person, and they probably thought that of me. Maybe I'm seeing the true colors of this person. And, from their perspective, maybe as being greedy or so forth. But I helped a lot of people, and I was just, I had to be financially responsible. And,
Yeah.
for some people, I would give, and then it wouldn't be enough. And they just keep asking and asking because the thing is, I'm generalizing, not everyone is like this, but if you
Of
are really
course.
bad with money and really bad with money and you come across sudden wealth and you don't have someone else, you know, guiding you that you trust or anything, you're probably still going to be really bad with money. So, like this one family member that I helped out, still I helped this person out and still was terrible with money. And
Right.
so then they came back and wanted more, and it just got into this. It was a and from a spiritual, I'm a very spiritual person. From a spiritual perspective, I have to think that there were some lessons there for
Of
everybody,
course.
probably.
Yeah, of course. Oh, so you ended up moving to another state and kind of starting over, like clean slate. So going to, because your winning was public. Not every lottery winning person has to go public to receive, like it's part of the rigmarole. So you were public everywhere you went, everybody knew you, you were a local celebrity, but you ended up having to go to another state. So what was it like when you started over? I mean, tell us about that journey of having to live somewhere else and start from scratch.
Yeah, I couldn't even go into a grocery where I lived in that state in Iowa in the Midwest in the United States. I couldn't go to a grocery store without people knowing who I was. I remember walking into grocery stores and hearing people talk about me, not knowing that I was in the next aisle because it was a big story for
Hmm.
that time in that place. And so I moved with a clean slate, just with people that didn't know me, I should say. And it was it was a learning experience. I still felt, isolated for a long time. I couldn't tell people. I could, but I didn't feel comfortable telling people that I had won the lottery because of this baggage, for lack of a better term, from the previous years of, it destroyed those relationships. I don't want it to destroy more relationships. And sometimes it can make people weird if they're not in the same place, if they view you as being different all of a sudden, or, I was just really apprehensive and careful about that. And because of that, for fear of relationships being ruined. So, but now these days, I'm interviewing other lottery winners. I love
Mm-hmm.
it so much, and I find it very cathartic and fulfilling to meet and interview other people that have experienced sudden wealth, winning the
Hmm.
lottery, winning prizes,
Hmm.
because to see how their story compares or contrasts to my own.
That's so interesting. I mean, we're such communal creatures. Of course, you would find community among other people that had this very, it's like survivors of a plane crash. It's like nobody else can relate to them except each other, and you can help to buoy each other up and learn from what the mistakes are and some of the, I mean, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. I keep picturing you as like Frodo. It's like you were given this thing and people get close to it and they're like, "My precious, give it to me." And like it bring like the ring, this money brings out the like the wonkiness in people, and there's some people that are pure that will find out and not change at all because of it. And I imagine you're on the hunt for the pure people, the people that have their own sense of well-being, they're sovereign in their own well-being, that they don't need you, but they want to be with you and want to hang out with you. And that's how to rock. I'm thinking about, like, even, I mean, this doesn't compare in the same way, but the day I got my first book deal, I remember hearing the news on the phone. It was the Dreamer's Dictionary for the 21st Century with Warner Books, a big New York publisher. I was jumping up and down. I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. And I shared it with my husband. He was so happy for me. And then I kind of froze. I, because I didn't want to tell anybody else, because I had this feeling that they'd be happy for me and that they would simultaneously feel bad about themselves. Like, how come I didn't get a book deal? And I've, a lot of people I know were working on books and trying, and it was kind of like, even though it was, this was based on achievement, it wasn't like completely the lottery in the same way, but there was luck involved. There was timing. There was following my dreams. I mean, there was a lot of these things involved, but I remember for a minute, I mean, of course, eventually everybody found out and one at a time, but there was, like with every good thing that does happen to me, when I got asked to be on the Dr. Oz show, when like there's been a handful of things, I know that I find it easier to talk about some of the harder things than I am to talk about, like, oh, my book won this award. I feel kind of braggadocious. I feel like immediately it's going to hurt people. And I'm compassionate and empathetic enough that I don't want my good fortune to hurt people. Like, I would like it to inspire people. So I imagine, I imagine that comes up. Can you speak to that? Like knowing that, like, yay, good for you. And then, ugh, why you and not me? Ugh. What have you learned about that dynamic with people?
I actually had a friend. who he's still a friend to this day, but one person I remember very vividly after I won, and he said, after I told told him I won, most people you tell them you win the lottery and they're like, "Oh, congratulations. That is awesome. I'm so happy for you." This one particular person said, "Well, at least somebody did." And that just sticks out. That just came to mind, but
Wow.
there are, I mean, some people just feel that way, I guess, and I just feel that now people are more, and it's been some time, and also, I was 21 years old, so that I think was a factor as well, but I think that can happen at any age,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
If you come across sudden success, it doesn't even have to be money, but any sort of sudden success in your peers, it's something that your peers would want, then there can be jealousy and there can be mixed feelings about that. So how do you deal with that? And for me, I just try to stay positive and
Hmm.
empathetic, but just try to
Hmm.
surround myself with people that are supportive, that are actualized, that actually are solid people themselves.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. You're making me, there's so many, this is such an interesting human phenomenon. I think we can all learn so much from you as an archetype, and I believe all archetypes live within us. There's the lottery winning part of all of us, and how do we do it? I think for many of us it's actually a shadow. I'm a hypnotherapist by trade, and one of the
Mm.
first things we learned in hypnotherapy school was that most people, they claim that they want to be successful, but their biggest fear is being successful. Being successful equals more pain to their subconscious mind, their survival brain, than not being successful, because they're already, quote unquote, not successful or struggling. And they have friends, they have family, they've figured out how to normalize that. So being unsuccessful or not as successful as they'd like to be doesn't pose a threat to the subconscious mind. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The subconscious, which is 88% of our mind's power, rules our consciousness. And the idea of being successful, if that's a foreign idea, then our subconscious mind is like, let's stomp that right out. Like, let's do whatever it takes to to not do that, to sabotage in order to keep the status quo. Status quo is all our subconscious mind really cares about. Our subconscious mind isn't here to make us happy or rich or successful. So we really have to work at finding our way through the maze of our mind. This is why so many people do sabotage themselves. But so I could tell there's something you're about to say. Go ahead. I want to let you flow. What's this percolating for you?
Oh, well, a couple things. One is
Yeah.
when I really wanted to win the lottery before I did, before when I believed that it was going to happen after this dream and everything leading up to it, I never thought about how it would affect my social life or anything like that. I just thought about relieving my debt and, these things on the surface that people see when they see lottery winners. I didn't think about the ramifications beyond that.
Thank
And
God,
it
because you might have
does, yeah,
sabotaged yourself. You might
yeah.
have lost that ticket.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the second thing is money and happiness is a really interesting topic that I have internally thought about for years since this has happened. Does money make you happy? And I ask other lottery winners this question, and people have different opinions, but I think it does in the sense that it can alleviate debt and the stress of that comes with that sort of thing with bills.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there are people that are extremely wealthy in this world that are
Yeah.
very unhappy. We see the horror stories in media. We see what happens to some people that are in the public spotlight, celebrities that are extremely unhappy, very wealthy. So if money was just the answer to happiness, I mean, I don't believe it is. I think it can help you though. Like it can help people be happy, but I think happiness comes from the inside.
Hmm.
That's what I believe and what I have
Hmm.
learned over the years.
Oh,
Because there are very people that are not wealthy, that are very poor, that are also very happy. So
yeah,
it's not just black or white. It's not that simple.
right. So there's a couple of quotes that are some of my favorites. I know that Marianne Williamson's most famous quote that Nelson Mandela spoke about in his inaugural address back in 1994. It was something like, "Our fear is not that we're inadequate. Our fear is that we're powerful beyond measure." Our it's We ask ourselves, "Who am I to be talented, fabulous?" Well, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. You're not here to play small to make other people not feel inadequate. You're here to let your presence basically liberate others from their fear. But that takes something. I mean, so that kind of ties into, and I'm butchering her quote, that she says it much more eloquently than that, but the idea is that we are afraid of being magnificent, but yet we are here to shine. We came to this world to figure this out. So, most people that are watching this or listening are struggling somewhere in their life. And I think most people wouldn't consider that in hypnotherapy, they call it a secondary gain. Whatever your pain is, you're also getting something from that pain. There's some kind of social currency in being broke. There's some kind of social currency in being chronically ill or being whatever. It's like Oprah said, the moment that there was all back, we're talking about the 90s when she lost a ton of weight. And she said she had always been trying to lose weight. And she finally did. And she noticed that she walked in rooms and people that used to be so happy to see her kind of looked away, didn't want to look at her because they suddenly felt threatened. And she found herself putting the weight back on because she wanted to be loved, wanted people to be kind to her, the secondary gain is that people feel sorry. One of my dearest people in my life has been chronically ill her whole life. And she's also incredibly beautiful, incredibly smart, incredibly talented. And I've often thought that the chronic illness is there so that people don't hate her, because they might otherwise say you've won the lottery in too many places, you're unrelatable, so I'm kicking you off the island. But if it's like, but I'm really sick and I'm sick all the time, then it's like, okay, then it's okay that you have these good things. Like, all right. I mean, but we're here to figure out how to shine. So maybe what I just to loop it back, whoever's watching and listening, know that you are here to have a fabulous life on all areas. And if there's an area in your life that you're not thriving in, consider that there may be secondary gain in that, and figure out, just by recognizing, oh my God, am I doing this to myself? I mean, not to blame yourself, not to hurt yourself, not to add insult to injury, but to just look at, if I didn't have this problem, this chronic problem, then is there another way that I might find belonging and connection and love and safety by not having this? Or might my friendships be truer? Because right now I imagine Timothy in coming all the way through all of this. Now that people know, like, your secret's out, you're a public figure, the people who are left after going through the fire are the golden ones. And I bet you, I mean, you tell me, I'm imagining that your friendships, that your life is pretty lovely at this point after you've gone through all this fire. Tell me, what's your life like now? Besides
It,
having this great show that you host.
oh, and appearing on this great show right here.
Well,
Um,
that too, yeah.
uh, yeah, right now, I'm pretty happy, I would say, and I feel very grateful for the relationships that I have with people and for my life and for my health. Health is something that I just don't take for granted at all, and just for the ability to connect with people on mass level, through my interviews and speaking in interviews like this one. And I just feel very grateful and for the relationships. And I think happiness is so important. And money can be positive, but just that's not just the key. It can help. It can help. But I just feel, yeah, very
So
grateful.
what about friends? So like would you
Mhm.
say that you've got some close-knit friends that love and appreciate you just for the being that you are without the all the extra bells and whistles that come along with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of my friends, most of them, almost all of them, probably don't. They think it's a cool story that I won the lottery, and probably not even all of them might not even know about it. So I don't
Mm.
bring it up unless I'm speaking about my podcast or
Uh-huh.
something that's relevant to that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not, it's something that happened to me, but it's not
Mm.
like just who I am. It's part of one drop of who I am, but I feel that it's can be we're all much larger than one thing that happens to us in life. We are constantly moving. It's constant change, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. And I love that you have that awareness that that's not,
No.
that this one thing that happened to you isn't the whole of who you are. That's like one drop in the ocean compared to who you are. Yeah, that's some growth. Go ahead. It
Oh,
looked like you were about to,
yeah.
I see
Oh.
this little twinkle in your eye. I'm like, oh, that means he's got another thing to say. I want to hear more from you.
Oh. Yeah, no, I
Okay.
completely believe that we are, the product of so much more. We are so much more
Yeah.
than just one thing, and it's much more important to live in the present
Yeah.
moment. I always have believed and really strongly believe rather than the past. And I strongly believe that anything and everything is possible, and you can create just so many wonderful things in your life. And you don't have to win the lottery. You can win the lottery, that is possible, but you certainly don't have to, because almost everybody in this whole world on earth has not won the lottery. All the people that are successful, that are happy, most of those people have not won the lottery in the sense of this game, but you can.
Right.
Some people do.
Right.
And I
Right.
just feel that happiness comes from the inside. And there's so many ways of winning the lottery too.
Yes,
Mhm.
symbolically and otherwise. Right. And only what 0.009% of the people that play win. So it is tiny. It's less than 1%. Um, so I keep thinking about the radio station. They say that everybody's favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? So when people hear anybody's story, they're like, "Oh, great, but what's in it for me? What's in it for me?" And what I'm thinking, because we're not going to get around that. That's just, it's human nature. So I think what's in it for people when we hear your story, because we have mirror neurons. When people see you, they're kind of reflecting, because there is no Timothy Schultz outside of ourselves. You are an aspect of ourselves. You're an aspect of me. You're an aspect of anybody who's watching or hearing. So what's in it for us to hear your story, to be around you, is we can be inspired and know that there's that part of us that has either won, and we didn't know it, we hadn't distinguished it as such, or we're about to win, or we're in it right now and we maybe needed you to remind us of that. So I was thinking about years ago when I was an actress, in my early 20s, around the time that you won your lottery. A dear friend of mine who I was in acting class, we were both going on a lot of auditions and getting 1,000 no's to every one little yes that we would get. And one day she got an amazing part on a massive movie. It was Hollywood Confidential with Kevin Spacey back then and Kim Basinger, and she got to play Kevin Spacey's secretary. And her name was Patrice Walters. And I remember when she told it to me, I remember getting covered in chills, crying, laughing, like screaming, as if it was my own win. I was so happy for her because we had been in the trenches. She wasn't just some random person that got a gig, like, ah, good for her. But it was like, oh my God. And I thought about it later, like, why was I so happy for her? And I realized on some level, the selfish part of me was like, my God, I'm close to her. I'm connected to her on some level. Like, there's hope for me too. So even if it's not in this moment, even if it's not in any way, maybe it's not going to be a part in a movie, but just to be around it is good for us. It's good. We see so many horrors in the news all day long, and our mirror neurons are also looking at that. But it's good for us every once in a while to see a fellow human pop through and thrive. And you've defied the odds. 5 years has passed, more than 5 years, and here you are. You're managing your money while you're thriving. So it's what's in it for us to hear your story is so that we can be inspired at the very least and support you. As we support you, we also support that part of ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
makes, oh, go ahead.
no, well, you hear people that win even more than you've won. I mean, you've interviewed people that have, I mean, like 28 million, that's a lot. So how do you feel when you hear about people winning even more than that?
Well, I'm just so happy for them. I've interviewed people that have won way more, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, than I did. And I'm just so happy for them and just anything in life. Like right now, I have this YouTube channel and this podcast, which it's fairly new and it's growing very quickly. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful with where it's at right now.
Yeah.
But I see people that have millions of subscribers that get,
Yes.
that have been doing it longer or they're way more successful at the moment.
At the
And I
moment.
don't look at that as in I'm jealous or, yeah, they're just, I don't have any ill feelings towards them. I just feel very happy for them. I'm so grateful. Like it's the mirror reflection. I'm so happy for them. And I feel that if anything, it can learn. It shows me that that person did it. I can do it too. And it's just with anything in life. Someone else has
Yes.
done it. You can do it too. You can turn
Mm.
your life around. You can be what you want to be to a large extent. To a large extent, I believe it's what we believe and pursue and the steps that we take. And there's, I strongly believe in that type of thing.
Mm. So it's interesting because and I know we're wrapping up here in just a moment, but there's the devil we know and the devil we don't know. The devil we know is however we are right now. That's ordinary status quo. And even if it's challenging, it's like, well, this is who I am, and this is my life, and I'm smart about it. I know how to do my life the way it is. The devil we don't know is winning the lottery, is becoming more successful than we are, being more loved than we've ever been, doing like having living la vida loca in whatever way we claim to dream and say that we want it, but really, do we really want it? Because there's often a price to pay for everything. Nothing is truly for free. You've had to pay a price for what you've got, and you paid it, paid in full. And now you get to keep what's on the other side of that. So I think we just, at the very least, I'm looking at everyone in my life through the lens of we've all won the lottery and look at the different ways that we're all doing it. I mean, some of us are rocking it and some of us aren't rocking it as much, but the Oriah Mountain Dreamer said something in her famous poem, The Invitation. There's a line that says, can you bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul? So, in other words, can you bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul by becoming more than you are now? Some people might accuse you of betraying the former status quo. Like there's an unwritten rule among friends, among family members that however we are right now, we will stay the same. Nobody rocked the boat. If you rock the boat, that's a betrayal. So you becoming wealthy was a quote unquote betrayal of the status quo. But you didn't betray your own soul. Your own soul said, I'm here to thrive. I'm here to grow to my maximum capacity, even if some people fall off along the way. That's my mandate. That's my soul. That's what I bothered to incarnate in this dimension to rock it. So I'm just so happy you're doing that. Okay, so wrapping this up, dreamifesting. I wanted to say my piece and then I want you to offer your last words of wisdom. From my perspective, dreamifesting is what Timothy Schultz did. He was paying attention to dreams even when they seemed ordinary, even before the lottery winning dreams happened. He was just kind of building it so that they would come. And so paying attention to dreams on an ordinary day, every day, making the habit out of that. And then when the big dream does come in, that big, powerful, emotional dream, whether it's about winning the lottery or having the love of your life or whatever that may be, paying attention to it and honoring it. And then normalizing it by maybe talking about it or writing about it or doing something in the physical realm about it. And if there's action to be taken, which I believe there is, you then take the action. So you become a bridge from the metaphysical to the physical, and then you reap the reward. So that in a nutshell is dreamifesting. Timothy, last words of advice or wisdom from all that you have learned on this incredible epic journey of yours.
Well, so much, I mean, as so much to say, but I believe that anything and everything, of course, is possible. I mean, my life was turned on its head. It happens to people all the time, whether it's the lottery or other things. And you spoke about rocking the boat. And I believe that life is sometimes if you want to pursue your dreams, whether it's literal dreams or dreams that you've had, sometimes it's very comfortable. I compare it to watching a sporting event, watching a basketball game, for example. You can be on the court playing, or you can be in the stands watching the game. And the stands, it's very comfortable. It's very comfortable, and you watch the game happening, but you have little to no impact on the game unless you get in it. And most people don't want to do that because there's some sort of a risk. And so that just came to mind. I believe that action steps, actually doing something, at least you're in the game. And the more you do something, the better you can get at it. And people can achieve practically anything. And even the lottery, it is obviously possible. Some people do win. You do have a chance if you play. Just don't always play responsibly, never spend more than you can afford, and have fun with it. That's my advice. And dream big. Dream big. And writing your
Yeah.
dreams down, like you say, I mean, you're the dream expert, but I've always done that. And I find I find that to be very powerful.
Oh man, Timothy Schultz, you are amazing. So Timothy's podcast is Lottery, Dreams, and Fortune. So one way to dreamifest your way into your next leveled up reality is to subscribe to his show, because as you watch these episodes, those mirror neurons are working with you. You're going to line up with that part of you that could be that person, and that is that person, even though you might not have recognized it before. So in another way, you can also go on my website and check out my dreamifesting program. I'm working on the book, Dreamifesting, that'll be coming out probably this time next year. You also have a book that's coming out, Timothy. Is it ready yet? Where are you at in the process?
I'm I'm still writing it, so it's not ready yet. Hopefully this year in 2024.
Okay, well,
Thank
I'm
you
your
for
biggest fan. Thank
Oh,
you
thank you.
so much for sharing your wisdom. Thank you, Drew, for introducing us. And everyone, go forth and multiply and know that you are already a lottery winner. And maybe this is just reminding you of that. And your dreams are helping you to do the heavy lifting of actually materializing those great blessings that have your name written on them. Until we meet again, don't take your dreams lying down. Sweet dreams. Thank you for listening to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show. If you enjoyed this episode, take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends. My show can be found on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to order my new book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, go to your favorite online or brick and mortar retailer, then head on over to kellysullivanwalden.com/tragic2
magic. Input your order number and redeem your bonus gifts. I'm also excited to be offering a DreamWork practitioner training. So if that calls to you, go to kellysullivanwalden.com/dreamwork. If you'd like to join me for the live recording of these shows, most Wednesdays at noon Pacific, you can find me on Facebook at Kelly Sullivan Walden Dreams. If you have a question about your dreams or about how to transform your tragic into magic, email me at kelly@kellysullivanwalden.com. Until next time, remember, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And as you awaken to the power of your dreams, you make the world a lighter, brighter, more beautiful place, one dream at a time. Sweet dreams.